Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Lodestar's Lending Leaders. Our guest today, good friend of mine, Kelsey Brown, Chief Strategy Officer at webmax. We'll talk a lot about what they do in the industry. Going to be a very kind of technology-focused conversation right now. Kelsey, we've known each other for a while. I see you at just about every conference, so really appreciate you coming on today.
Anytime, Jem. Love you, brother. Whatever.
No, you were one of. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so happy we were finally had the stars collide here.
Yeah, you invited me, and then you disinvited me, and then you invited me again. So I'm happy.
It wasn't a disinvite. It was, oh, hang on, we're wrapping up this season, so we just wanted you to have a really prime slot for the season here. So.
All good, brother.
Yeah. Well, great. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into, webmax in the mortgage technology space. I know it's kind of not a typical road.
No. So, my background is really in finance. I went to school for finance, and then I joined the Navy, actually enlisted into the Navy. And in the Navy, I was a dispersing clerk. So right back into finance, right? Handling money and everything else. But, I did 6 years in the Navy, actually maybe should have stayed in, but, I love what I do now. Yeah. But, I was meritoriously advanced to E5 for my work. So, good career there. But a lot of things that the Navy taught me, I think really kind of paved the way for me to get to where I am today. Mm-hmm. So in the Navy, they teach you fast, which means you have to learn fast.
Right.
And then they want you to do a job, but they want you to do that job quickly. And they also want you to do that job accurately. Mm-hmm. So that's what I live by today. I learn quick. I'm a sponge. And, I try to get the job done as quickly and as professionally as possible. A little bit more on that, when I got out the Navy, I was in and around real estate for, at that point, I've already gone to real estate school prior to going into the Navy. Mm-hmm. And then coming out, jumped into title, still had my real estate license. So doing stuff there, did a little bit of mortgage. I did not see myself like getting into technology like whatsoever. Mm-hmm. The most that I knew was I had a Yahoo account for email, and that was it. And there was this company called Screen Dreamer. They did IDX websites, which IDX is Internet Data Exchange, basically pulling properties from the multiple listing service and updating it on a website. Mm-hmm. They were, one of the first to actually do that. And I applied for this job. It was like a sales job, appointment setting. And, I got into it and I loved it. But unfortunately, I wasn't very good at setting appointments. I had no idea what I was talking about. I was learning it, and they only gave me like 2 weeks, and they terminated me. Like, done, terminated. So what wound up happening was a few days later, I get a call from the president and co-founder of that company inviting me to come back to have a conversation about another role. Mm-hmm. And he said, everybody really, they liked you. Like whatever you did, whatever you said, everybody wanted me to reach out to you for this particular role. Mm. We need somebody to kind of run our success department. And, I had another opportunity that I wasn't too excited about at the time. So obviously I went with the success role, get right back into technology. Right. And this time when I got in, a little bit more time to actually learn everything, more than 2 weeks anyway. Mm-hmm. So I started to learn HTML. I started to learn CSS. I started to learn .NET or ASP.NET. Mm-hmm. I started tinkering with servers. Like I wanted to be the most well-rounded employee that they had, so that I wouldn't get terminated ever again. Yeah. And, I created additional revenue lines with search engine optimization. Like that was new back then. Yeah. And like nobody really understood it, except for like the old black hat tactics where you just put the keywords in the bottom, screen, same color as the footer, right. And, but that's black hat tactics. You get rejected for that type of stuff. So I took the time to actually learn how to do it. And then that was a product line that I sold for that company. And I rode that wave all the way until the exit of that company.
Mhm.
And one of the other co-founders invited me to kind of start up webmax with them,
Mhm.
and I've been doing this like ever since. And I think,
Mhm.
you know, my customer service skills, uh my attention to detail, which I got from the Navy,
Mhm.
you know, my ability to learn quickly and to produce quickly and accurately,
Mhm.
plus all of the technology that I've learned really kind of made me the guy that you see today.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my journey. I mean, there's
No.
a bunch of other stuff that's in there that I
Yeah.
probably left out, and maybe for good reason, but you know,
Can sprinkle it in throughout the episode. So, and it sounds is it the Navy that has the 7 Ps?
was that?
Is it the 7 Ps? Is it the Navy? Was it pre-perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance?
That's great, but I've actually never heard of
Okay,
that.
then maybe it might have been a different
It
branch of the
might be the
military
Navy.
or
Hey,
something. Yeah.
maybe not my Navy, not the
Yeah,
Navy I
fair
was
enough. I heard that. I'll have to look that up. But so so obviously it seems like webmax, right? Websites were an entry point, right? And there probably was a time where an idea of a good website was a game changer for a business, right? Now it's table stakes, right? So how can you get companies going beyond kind of just the idea of like we just need a website, right? Like how do you use that as an entry point into all of the other things that a lender has to do technology wise?
Well, I mean, I think COVID really put things into perspective for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of lenders, understanding that they needed the right tech stack to be
Mm-hmm.
successful. Because brick and mortar is, I
Yeah.
won't say a thing of the past, but it's
Mm-hmm.
faded. You know, companies are
Yeah.
now struggling to bring their employees back into the offices, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, now you know we're communicating like we are today, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and we're also leveraging other technologies to be able to you know replace what we did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Websites have all, in my opinion, websites have always been one of the most important things that any company, lender,
Mm-hmm.
bakery, you know, whatever
Yeah.
you are, should have. Because it is your online store. It's
Mm-hmm.
the new brick and mortar. It's where you
Yeah.
house all of your information. It's where you house all of your tools, especially in the mortgage industry. You need those tools. People need to know, they need to be able to self-educate themselves
Yeah.
on the different products that you offer because they're not running to pick up the phones and they're not running your office anymore. So you can't just
Mm-hmm.
tell them these things. They need to read them, let it resonate with them. And then if they have additional questions, you need to have the tools in place to be able to
Mm-hmm.
answer those questions. And that can be website, that can be chat, that can
Yeah.
be, you know, text message feature that's on your website, that
Mm-hmm.
can be intuitive, you know, contact forms that
Mm-hmm.
kind of have like a certain level of artificial intelligence in them to
Mm-hmm.
where it's automatically answering questions for you. But this is what the lenders need to kind of take into consideration is everything really starts with the website.
Mm-hmm.
You know, point of sale, that became a huge thing with Rocket
Yeah.
Mortgage, right? You know, you
Yeah.
got Blend, you got Roostify, you got me, which I'm really good at that too. So
Yep.
you want to talk to me about that? Let's talk. But you know, they don't just land on a point of sale application.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there needs to be an entry point.
Right.
Like, and I said this on another podcast, maybe about 2 years, 3 years ago, even
Yeah.
before COVID. You know, when you go into Macy's or any department store, you don't just run to the cash register.
Mm-hmm.
You do your shopping first,
Yeah.
right? That's what the website is. The
Yep.
website is where you get your shopping
Mm-hmm.
done, and then you can get to the POS and then all of those other features that kind of
Yeah.
facilitate the loan
Well,
from there.
something like a POS is a tool, right? It's a funnel. And unless you have enough people coming into the top of the funnel, that doesn't really matter how good of a funnel, how good of a tool your POS is, right? Because you're not able to actually get people into it.
Well said, my
Yeah.
friend.
Mm-hmm. I was one thing I saw it was recent, with the idea of kind of online reputation, and I'll look at people's websites before I make a judgment on any business. So like that's how you look legitimate, right? Like, do you have a website that explains what you do?
Right.
I saw something online that they have a theory that the best Chinese restaurants have exactly 3.5 stars on Yelp. So the idea is like they don't have 5 stars, so they're not overpriced. They don't really care about service, but they have great, wonderful, authentic food. And like that's the sweet spot, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're never going to hear that about a mortgage company. You're never going to hear, oh, this company that has 3.5 stars on Google is really the company to go to, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone else is going to really have that kind of luxury. So we're living in a world where that online reputation can be really, really important.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have companies that built themselves around that. Experience.com, Podium, a few other companies out there. So sure.
And one early on when I was calling on potential clients, I explained what I did, and I got an ops manager at a company, and they said, "Oh, our owner doesn't really like the internet." Right. And this was probably 2013, 2014. Right. And I feel like we've come a long way from that point where, people want as much on their website as possible. Right. And almost too far in the other direction where they assume everything's going to happen online. Right. How have you seen that transfer in terms of the types of ways lenders view their websites and what they want their websites to do? Like, do they think this is going to be like a silver bullet at the end of the day?
I think for the most part, every lender today thinks their website is going to be the silver bullet. And some really have that silver bullet. But others, it's just, to me, in my opinion, it's just a website. And there's a few, to kind of elaborate on that, there's a few things that, every lender should consider when doing their website.
Yeah.
And number one, that's making sure that you have enough content to tell your story or what your products are. Making sure you have the tools to tell you or to tell their visitors how much they can afford and what their pricing is going to look at. Hey, webmax does that, so do you.
Right. Exactly.
Also they want to make sure that it's a very user interface, right? Or user experience, I should say. So all of that content you should be able to navigate to that very quickly. And they should be able to, again, self-educate themselves right through your website. And then it should have all of the call to action in place as well. So you want to make sure that the apply nows are in the right place, or pre-qualifies in the right place, or click here to, contact us is in the right place. Right. And additionally, that's not it, right? Because right now you have a good website that has good content. But what differentiates you, the lender, from everybody else? And I'll tell you what that is. It's your culture.
Yeah.
If culture's not coming through your website, you missed the mark.
Well, then how do you get that culture in your website? How do you show that?
I think it's a balance. I think it's what you provide, but also what you can get your web vendor to receive, right? Because ultimately, whoever you're working with for the website is going to be the one that's designing it and coming back to you back and forth. And if they don't understand your message, they're not going to deliver your message the proper way.
Well, how many lenders don't understand their own message, right? Like, we have experience. We're the place to work for, right? Like,
there's a lot of that going on too. But I urge everybody, if you're a business owner and you have your own business, you need to find your identity and make sure that you can push that through your website, because really that's what differentiates you from everybody else. Everybody has the same rates.
Yeah.
You might be a point up, point down. You might be able to do certain things that this lender, can't do, but it's all the same. So how do you differentiate yourself?
Right. And then I also feel like, you make a new website, everything's up to date, right? And then at that point, it slowly deteriorates.
Oh no, you have to stay on top of that.
Right. Like just slowly over time. Right. Because if you don't, our marketing manager, Elena, who's a co-host on this podcast, she makes our marketing team do a website audit every year. Yeah. And they dread it, but things change. Like, oh, that information's out, or we don't have that partnership. We don't have that product anymore. This is different, right? Like
it absolutely changes. Your website should never be stagnant. You should always have fresh content going to your website. You can do that a few different ways. You can put it right in a blog for uncategorized content.
Yeah.
Or if you have product updates, you can have a product update page, and then make sure you're actually updating the product pages.
Yeah.
But then there's also compliance changes too. A big one that came up and actually stung a lot of lenders is ADA compliance. Your website's not configured for the Americans with Disabilities Act. And guess what? Now you're behind a legal suit because of it, and now you're paying hefty fines to settle on that suit.
We've had to do that with our interface too, just for like visual impairment and other things.
It's important, and you'd be surprised how many lender websites are not ADA compliant.
Yeah,
and there's tools out there that you can use as well. Some of them better than others. But lenders still have a long way to go, and I think we all know that. That's what the whole digital mortgage movement really was. First let's figure out how to connect all of the products.
Yeah,
let's learn how to move this industry into today's to the way that things really operate today, and not what it was before.
And how do you think that's changed in this market that we're in now? Not only with COVID pushing people to be digital probably faster than they would want, but also like in a more competitive, a market where refis have dried up. Are folks now just leaning on this as a differentiator, or trying to?
I think they're doing what they can do. I think the ones that invested in this earlier on, and there's a lot of lenders that I actually give credit to. Some of them don't use my system, so don't think I'm it's no biased answer or anything like that. They invested in good website solutions. They invested in their IT dev team. They invested in their online marketing. And, those are the ones that are crushing it. And then you have the guys who are now just kind of responding to what the market has become, responding to COVID. And they're playing catch up, but they know everybody has to do it. Shoot, I have to do it. We have to be on social media. We have to make sure that we have a good online presence. Because if we don't, what is it my mom used to tell me? Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, that's it.
Well, it's amazing too when I come to conferences and how much of the interactions with people and how much they perceive about you just based off that online presence.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that's what I get all the time of, oh, you guys are doing all these things. I'm like, yeah, we're posting about it, so I guess so, right? Like, it's
people know people from online. That's how you're known now. Like think Delilah Ramos with her Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, she's an upcoming guest. Yep.
Half the people that know her don't know her. You see her. I mean, it's infectious. She does. And she told me I need to be better at this too. When I saw her in Nashville, loved Delilah, but she told me, hey, you need to do more video.
Well, here you are. But also, I think part of it is it has to feel authentic at the end of the day. It has to be something you would look forward to, or else it's going to feel like work and you're going to push yourself to do it. At the beginning of this podcast, you were talking about starting one, right? And part of, I started it, I think, January 2021, and it replaced those in-person interactions that were just lacking. Right. During COVID. So for me, that was it was like, great, I get to talk to more people again. This is awesome.
So that was kind of the podcast is where it's at. These Zoom meetings is where it's at. I mean, I love it. It allows me to actually see what you're doing while you're talking to me. Like, I still like the in-person interaction. I got to give you a handshake when I see you and all of that stuff, but this will do.
No, and I remember we had Zoom before the pandemic, and I wouldn't have my camera on, or most people would feel weird having their camera on, and now it's just the new normal.
I sit most of my day is this. I sit on Zoom meetings, and there's a bunch of little boxes, and they're all black with like the initials. Maybe sometimes there's a picture in it, and it's me. It's my smiling face, because my camera has to be on. I don't care if yours is off. You're going to see me because this is me in your face.
Well, also, I think generally people are nicer to you when they see your face, too. That's my theory. So I always like to put my camera on for that reason, too.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my theory, at least. So you talked a lot about technology and having kind of a butted up website with SEO and a lot of those things up front. But what about the people? What are your people actually doing at the end of the day, right? Because a website's great, but like, how do you then use that technology to leverage what loan officers do, what processors do, what all the staff would do at a mortgage company?
Right. So our technology actually begins before the mortgage-based website. So we still do like I do IDX websites. So I
Mm,
can actually generate leads from realtor-based websites
yep,
and kind of carry those leads right into a
sure.
mortgage-based website so that they can get all of the knowledge and
Yeah.
information that they need. But then we also do digital point of sale
Mhm.
application. We do loan funnels. We do
Yeah.
lead funnels. All of those
Yep.
different
But to
internal.
clarify, then how do your clients, how do the lenders take advantage of that too? Because getting leads is great, but if you don't call them, nothing's going to happen, right? So
Right.
how do you actually leverage the people component of a lender's business,
Right.
and use that technology to drive that forward? So lenders aren't entering information, they're not, doing prospecting, they're actually able to leverage their time.
Well, I mean, it's loaded. There's a
Yeah.
lot that they can do. Obviously, we work
Mhm.
with other solutions like CRMs and loan origination systems, and
Yeah.
even some video platforms like Vidyard, and
Mhm.
there's one that we're looking at now, BombBomb as well,
Mhm.
which kind of offers that type of automated communication, but also makes it feel authentic as well.
Mhm.
You can do that with some of those platforms.
Mhm.
But really, it's just up to us to educate the lenders on what's out there and how they should be using the system, understanding what they're doing today and how some of these automated systems can actually help them. And
Mhm.
education is key to kind of get
Yeah.
them to that particular point. So a lot of these lenders, like we were just talking about it, like
Mhm.
they have no idea like what technologies are available to
Yeah.
them. So
Mhm.
without that education,
Yeah. And I think they think that, especially millennials or Gen Z, is going to do everything online, right? And
that's
that's
not
not
that's not necessarily true.
no.
So, text message has been like a big thing. That's not
Mhm.
online. That's a
Right.
text message. But your website should be able to send SMS text, or
Mhm.
your website should be able to send information
Right.
to a CRM, which will then in turn into a
Mhm.
SMS campaign.
Right.
Also, a lot of these guys like to pick up the phone too,
Yeah.
especially if they recognize the phone number. So,
Yeah.
that's not going away anytime soon.
No. No. Oh.
As long as you
Mhm.
got one of these, pick up the phone. What did he say? What did the Wolf of Wall Street say? Pick up the phone. Your rent is due. Pick up the phone. You can still do that,
Um,
but you can also
yeah.
leverage some
I heard
technology.
a stat. So I think 70% of home buyers go with the first lender that they speak with, right?
That
So
is true because
how
they
do you,
give them so much information up front, and the lender's already telling them you're pre-approved.
right.
So,
Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing then?
well, they're not shopping it around. It's a
Yeah.
bad thing for
Yeah.
the home buyer. You need to see what your options are.
Yeah.
You need to see what loan types are being offered.
Yeah.
What comes along with those loan types as well. There's different types of first time
Yeah.
home buyer programs that are out there. New Jersey has one
Mhm.
right now. I think it's you get $10,000
Yeah.
towards your closing and down payment,
Mhm.
which is great for a first time home buyer. In
Yeah.
some counties, I think they even raised that to 15,000. But
Wow.
there's also things that you need to know about that loan as well. Like you have to be in a home for 5 years,
Right.
or you're responsible for paying that back.
Yeah.
So these mortgage companies are offering all of these different programs, and it sounds great, but you're not reading all the fine print, and you're
Right.
not seeing what the other companies are
Well,
offering.
then that gets speaks to the job of the loan officer, right? To
It
educate people
does.
on that. Like
It does.
yeah.
But there's not a lot, and I say this a lot because I think it's important that loan officers, as trusted advisors, uh, do a better job at educating
Yeah.
you know home buyers. It needs to happen, especially in my community. You know, hey, the Black community. I'll
Yep.
just say it. Minorities.
Mhm.
We're not as experienced
Yeah.
as everybody else. There's questions that a lot of our youth have because their parents
Mhm.
never owned a home,
Yep.
or never even tried to to get a home loan or anything
Mhm.
like that. So education is definitely key,
Right.
and loan officers need to do a better job at it. But also, as the borrower or home buyer,
Mhm.
you need to self educate yourself as
Yeah.
well.
Right. I mean, so many millennials and Gen Z just go, hey, my parents work with this person, let's work with them. Right. And if you don't have that example, it's very difficult. And I think lenders in some cases do a sloppy job of trying to market to groups outside that, quote unquote mainstream, right? You see the same with Spanish speaking borrowers. You can't just slap "se habla español" onto your your website and actually like be able to market to people. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have translation tools, by the way.
Yeah. Excellent. So how do you lenders who are able to, go, I just want to end with this question. So lenders who are able to communicate well to whether it be the Black community or other folks who are traditionally like not underrepresented in terms of home buyers, like how do you want to see lenders doing a better job of that, or how have you seen the folks who do a good job of that?
Oh, I mean, I've seen a lot of video tutorials from certain loan officers on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook too tough. I'm on Facebook. Yeah. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not always very active on Facebook. But when I do go on there, my algorithm shows me loan officers or mortgage tech and stuff like that, which I actually really enjoy. And I see people doing great jobs with spreading the word through social media. Continue to do that. Social media is an avenue that we should all be using more of. It's the quickest way to get messages out, but also put that on your website as well. Yeah. Because, you can have like a FAQs page or, learning page, whatever you want to call it, but put it there. So again, when people are self-serving, they have the ability to find this content and then they can read through it or watch the video. And if it resonates with them, it's going to stick with them. And that's going to give them the ability to pick up the phone or send you a text message or click a contact form. Whatever it may be.
And just understanding how little people know about this. Like I bought my first home over the summer and I got an adjustable rate mortgage, and explaining it to friends of mine who have finance degrees have no idea what an adjustable rate mortgage is and why it would be really attractive right now.
Right now, with the rates being so high, you get the lower rate.
Right, you get the lower rate, but understanding you have a break-even period, understanding how long you have, like,
risk, but you can always refinance that too. Yeah. So the goal would be, you do, adjustable rate mortgage until rates kind of even out, and then you finance into a fixed rate. People don't know a lot of this stuff. Yeah.
No, I think that's great. And definitely a topic, that's worth more time. We're already up on our time here. It always goes fast. The question we're asking everyone this season, though, is so the idea of a lodestar is a guiding light. It's a North Star. So we're asking everyone, what is your personal North Star? What's your guiding light? What gets you excited in the morning to go out and do what you do?
Well, I think I've said this throughout this call. I've always known that I wanted to be in real estate. I've loved it since I was a kid, since my parents, since we moved to New Jersey, that whole process. And for me, it's not really a person. I mean, there's a bunch of people that I do think, are inspirational, like Barry Habib, Joe Payne Bianco, Justin DeMola, Matt V, Dave Savage. But for me, it's knowing that the little things that we do, you too, me, are helping people get into homes. And that, to me, is the guiding light.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that's something that gets missed all too often at the end of the day, like realizing how important these transactions are to people's lives. And it's, in many cases, the largest financial transaction that they'll ever have.
Absolutely. We're helping these people build generational wealth. We're helping them achieve what we call the American dream. Whether we're providing the technology, selling the loan, selling the home, whatever it is, we're part of that transaction.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. Really appreciate your time, Kelsey. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to have you back.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Lodestar's Lending Leaders. Please like, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars anywhere you get your podcast. I'd like to give a special thank you to the Lodestar team involved with the production of this podcast, including Elena Gardner, Kim Austin, and John Gardner.